This is Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it's time for the Atlanta Football Party, only on Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Atlanta Football Party. I'm your host, Jarvis Davis, and I got my main man with me, Aaron Freeman, the Falcons prophet himself. I don't know about this year, but yeah, most of the time, he's going to be the prophet for the Atlanta Falcons. Yes. We thank you and want to let you know that we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate that from you in advance. Atlanta Football Party is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode of the Atlanta Football Party is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs help you find the qualified candidate you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. We're going to give you our little instant reaction here in just a little bit. I want to also let you know that I'm going to throw a conspiracy theory at Aaron Freeman in our second segment, and we'll finish things up by checking in on Kirk Cousins to make sure he's okay. But first, like Aaron, obviously, leading up to the draft, we've had so many conversations about whether they're going to get an edge rusher, Leatu Latu, Dallas Turner, and just – oh man, or Quinyon Mitchell, we would have taken him, and Roma Dunze. I know you got your purple shirt on, you know what I'm saying? You said that was for Roma Dunze would have got drafted. Latu, you had the blue shirt. I had my little shot of some good 10-year bourbon if they would have drafted Latu, because I would have been excited about that. But man, when it came down to it, and the Falcons selected Michael Penix Jr., you know what I said to myself? They did it again. What say you?
Yeah, they did it again. And the funny thing, Jarvis, is at least and for those of you that are unfamiliar, right? Jarvis has been pounding the table for years. Let's get some pass rush, sure. Defense. I was with him in 2022. I was not so much with him last year because, Bijan was there, and, I kind of knew that they weren't probably going to take Jalen Carter. So I made peace with it. I love me some Jalen Carter, but I kind of made peace with it a little earlier, Jarvis. It took him a while, and he's probably still not over it. But they did it again, right? At least with those picks, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, you got immediate contributors.
Yes,
Penix, 3 years. We gotta wait for him to contribute 3 years. I don't know. Like, when is the timeline? And that's the tricky part, because we already know taking a quarterback this high, the odds are not stacked in your favor already. Right. And so the Falcons are basically trusting in, like, we're gonna build. It's gonna work out for us, right?
Right.
It doesn't work for them, but it's gonna work out for us. So to me, it is like a head scratcher of a move, because it's like, if you were going to neglect needs, at least get Roma Dunze. At least you could forgive them when he's catching 10 touchdowns this year or whatever. But we're gonna sit here and watch Michael Penix just hold a clipboard for a whole 2 years probably. Yeah, and it's like, at least, yeah, man, great, awesome. I can't wait till 2026 when we get to see him play, I guess. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. When you think about just. I remember being at the press conference, the pre-draft press conference with Terry Fontenot. I'm up here digging, trying to see if I can get something. I can squeeze something out of him. The general manager don't try to give you anything leading up to the draft. But he did kind of give me something. That BPAFU. It came into play. It was the perfect storm, right? Because he talked about how you have an impact player up here. You got need player, but he's kind of down here on the totem pole. He said they're going to go with the impact player every time. And on their board, from what it seems, that was the impact player that they had on their board. And I feel like that was the guy that they feel like they needed. But I kind of want to ask you this. Like, if that was the guy that they felt like can be an impact player for them, then why sign Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, it feels like this team is so like scared about not having a quarterback answer.
Right.
And taking Penix, it's like, yeah, I mean, like that's the thing. It's like it would have been different if it was like Drake May, because like there are people like legitimately that like they think he's as good as like Caleb Williams. A lot of people are high on JJ McCarthy, but like I don't know. I was talking about this on Locked On Falcons. Like I found like one person that had Michael Penix in their top 20 rankings. So it's just like we're really trusting in the Falcons that like this dude is a dude. Like this,
they know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, this is a dude, and so like I think I watched Penix. He's fine, but I would have graded him out as like a second round. We talked about this earlier this week. It's like 43. Yeah, take Penix all day.
Yeah,
8. It's a hard pill to swallow. So yeah, they're betting on this guy is going to be that sort of high end franchise quarterback, and if he is, then we'll just be sitting here laughing at you. Hey Jarvis, you remember that time when we were so angry about it? We were so pissed off about it, and then we're watching him win MVPs and win Super Bowls, and it's like, that was so funny, right? But
did that ever happen though? Does that ever happen for us?
Like
in the city of Atlanta? It probably has happened in other places, but does that happen for us?
Well, here's what I'll say in defense of this pick. When they picked Matt Ryan, people did not like the pick.
Yeah. Yep.
So I want Michael Penix is the next Matt Ryan.
Yeah. I want to go endorse it. Yeah. That's where I was at.
Yeah.
I was, but I think that, that at that time, it was a different scenario, right?
Yeah, very different.
You doggone started quarterback with the federal prison.
It was Joey Harrington and Chris Redmond. It was like
Redmond, Byron Leftwich, Joey Harrington. It was awful. It was such an awful situation, kind of like it was before the Falcons signed Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just it is so interesting, man. Like now, like the Falcons are coming into this draft. It was such a boring pick, right? Oh yeah, they're gonna get Dallas Turner. They get Latu. Yeah, it might be a little high. Might be a little rich at 8. I thought it was going to be a little bit rich at 8 myself, but I would have been settled with them going ahead and get their guy because they felt like that was the best pass rusher on their board, right? BPA, FU, but it just seems like now when you just look at the whole landscape of the draft, first thing everybody talking about, man, what were the Falcons thinking? Like, you about to sit up here and tell me that the Falcons are smarter than everybody else? Everybody? Even people, when the Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes, there were analysts out there like, oh, yeah, this cat is the real deal. Of course, people weren't listening because they were like, oh, quarterback out of Texas Tech. All right, whatever. And then next thing you know, he sit for a year, then, MVPs, 3 Super Bowls and all that good stuff later. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but, man, this doesn't seem like that situation. I'm sorry. I like Michael Penix, and I like Michael Penix. That's where I'm coming from. I like him as a prospect. Like, I did a mock draft where he fell to me in the second round. You know what I'm saying? And everybody were up in arms when I drafted him in the second round. I was like, woo! I can imagine how those people are feeling right now.
Yeah. We'll see how it works out, man. Because I just like it's been a tough pill to swallow this offseason because like I understand the quarterback was the biggest issue on the team last year, but I don't feel like it was the only issue on the team last year. And getting Kirk, it's like, yeah, we need competent quarterback play. And yeah, is Kirk a long-term answer? No. But like we need to worry about, we got bigger fish to fry right now than worrying about who our quarterback's going to be 5 years from now. And like I understand why you want that stability, but it's tough to swallow where the Falcons are just like doubling down on it. And it's just like, hey, let's use a top 10 pick on a player that's not going to play for 2 years.
Yeah, man. At least 2 years. So yeah, we'll continue this conversation. I have a very interesting theory as to why Terry Fontenot chose Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick. We'll talk about that next. But first, gotta let you guys know that this episode of the Atlanta Football Party is brought to you by LinkedIn. Guys, listen up. Let me tell you something. You've been looking to hire for your small business. You want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. I'm telling you guys, this is where you need to be because this is the thing. I want you to kind of lean in real quick. Listen up. This is very important. Like LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. Plus, on LinkedIn, 86%. That's a big number. 14% are lost right now. They're lost souls. 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Those people know exactly what they're doing. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Term and conditions apply.
This episode of your favorite Locked On podcast is brought to you by the best meal kit service in the game, Home Chef. No more having to answer the dreaded question, what are we going to do for dinner tonight? Thanks to Home Chef and their chef design recipes that are delivered directly to my door, all pre-packaged, pre-portioned. They even peel the garlic cloves for you. And each recipe, one of my favorites, Black and Mahi, comes with a full page of easy to read instructions that include customization options and pictures to guide you along the way through the step-by-step process so you don't have to ask, is that what chard looks like? I cannot recommend Home Chef enough, especially right now, because for a limited time, Home Chef is giving Locked On listeners 18 free meals, free dessert for life, and of course, free shipping on your first box if you head to homechef.com/lockedon today. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 18 free meals and free dessert for life. Yes, you heard that right. Homechef.com/lockedon. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert.
Thank you, Ross. Appreciate that, man. Y'all check out Home Chef. It is Atlanta Football Party. I'm your host, Jarvis Davis. I got my main man with me, the Falcons prop himself, Aaron Freeman, and we're talking about Michael Penix. Got picked up by the Atlanta Falcons with the 8th overall pick. We talked about the reaction and how kind of didn't make any sense. We're trying to figure this thing out. Why would you go ahead and spend that money on Kirk Cousins? And we'll talk about a little bit later. We're going to check in on Kirk. We're going to see how he is. We're going to do a mental check on him a little bit later on. But first, we got to jump into this theory that I have, Aaron. Now, we know back in 2008, when Thomas Dimitroff drafted Matt Ryan, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of people were kind of up in arms and trying to figure out what was going on. Why would they do that? Why didn't they get the big disruptor, Glenn Dorsey, who went on to play in the 3-4 system that didn't necessarily fit the type of player that he was, and that's probably why he didn't do well with the Kansas City Chiefs. But
still
as you can see, you have a little touch, bro.
16 years later? Okay. All right.
Yeah, 16 years later. You know what I'm saying?
Continue, my friend.
So, fast forward a little bit, everybody was like, oh, man, this Matt Ryan cat can play. And next thing you know, Thomas Dimitroff would just go on to just have the securest and safest job ever. He went into doggone Arthur Blank's office with his feet kicked up. Yeah, Arthur, what you need? Oh, what about Lamar Holmes and Peter Cons? Oh, yeah. Look who I drafted back a few years ago. Oh, yeah, you did draft Matt Ryan, the face of the franchise. Oh, cool. So I say all that to say, Aaron, is Terry Fontenot trying to get some job security?
I mean, sure, but you got to win games. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
no doubt. Yeah.
The issue. Like Matt Ryan came in and won games, right? Like, and so Kirk Cousins now has to come in and win games because Michael Penix ain't going to win any games, right? I mean, that
not gonna be on the field.
Something horrible goes wrong, and Michael Penix is suddenly playing, as a rookie or whatever. I don't think that's in the plan. I didn't catch all of what Terry and Raheem said post pick, but I think I saw a quote out there like, "Hey, if he doesn't play for 4 or 5 years, that's not a problem." It's like, ooh, Terry, what are we talking about? My God, what are we saying?
A little hot up in here.
Yeah, like what? We just used the top 10 pick on a player that's not going to play for 5 years. Like,
hey
you think that's a
man,
good
look.
thing? Like, ooh, Terry. So, Jarvis, when you asked about trying to get that job security, I'm just like, there's a lot of things that need to happen for Terry to get that job security, and really none of it has to do with Michael Penix. A lot of it has to do with all the stuff that the Falcons have to do between now and when Michael Penix gets on the field. So I sit here and I go like, yeah, good luck. You gotta win some games. Hey, I hope Zach Robinson and Jimmy Lake and Kirk Cousins and Drake London, everybody's good. I got. There's nothing I would love more, Jarvis, than seeing a good football team in the city of Atlanta for a full season. Oh boy, I would look forward to that. But that's really what's going to help get you that job security if you're a general manager, right? We talk about Terry. You asked me a couple of weeks ago, how would I grade Terry? It's like B-, but it's like I'm being generous with that B- grade because based off of the record on the football field, they've been a C- team for 3 years.
For sure.
So
less than average.
Yeah. So you gotta earn the B- before we can really start talking about it. So
yeah. So I think that I think you make good points. This is like it's kind of weird because I always kind of like to try to separate the whole level of thinking, right? Because I feel like the coach has to be in win now mode, right? Because those guys are the guys that will get that axe. Ask Arthur Smith. First time it goes 3 years, he out of there, right? But I think that general managers, they'll get a little bit more grace for the most part, and they kind of have to think from not only for now because they got their head coach in there, like, hey man, I need this guy to be an impact player for me like tomorrow, but they got to think for the future, and that's what one of the things that Terry mentioned, out in his post-round press conference. He was saying, hey, Kirk is our quarterback, but Michael Penix is our future. Almost like he was running a political campaign, man. It was very interesting, man. Terry's an interesting dude to me. Like the more I learn and the more moves that he makes, and I look at and try to examine that thing, it seems like he's a very interesting cat. Like because looking at just how he's done, right? Because I come into this draft, I ain't gonna lie, I felt like Raheem Morris would have a little bit more influence on this draft, given because I know, talk about best player available with Bijan Robinson and, Kyle Pitts and Drake London in the past 3 rounds coming in. I felt like Arthur Smith is the head coach. He's also the offensive coordinator. So, yeah, I feel like he'll have a little influence right there. But with Raheem Morris, being this is his second go around and being a head coach, I feel like he would have had a little bit more influence to sit up here and say, yeah, let's go ahead and take a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because it's hard to say like it, I hear what you're saying. Like this feels like a Terry pick as opposed to a Raheem pick. Right. And I'm curious to see what they do on day 2. Like, do they go all in on defense to sort of compensate for, this one? And we'll be like, okay, Terry, you had round 1 and Raheem, you had sort of round 2 and 3 or whatever. So it's, I don't know. It's an interesting choice that the Falcons have made. They're again, as we said earlier, it's like they're making a big bet that they got a franchise quarterback, and that's I know the Matt Ryan pick wasn't popular, but I was very high on Matt Ryan at the time, and I thought he was a franchise quarterback, so I was very happy with the pick. I was one of the 3 people that was very happy at that time with the pick. And it's just harder to get excited about Michael Penix given some of the issues in his game. Like he's a good player, but like there are some major hurdles that he's going to have to overcome at the next level, and we'll see if the Falcons can sort of develop that. And that's on Raheem. I mean, like that's on Zach Robinson. And then that's kind of the other question we had, right? Where, when we hired Raheem and he brought in Zach Robinson. He's the sort of the next guy. And we're like, hey, he's going to, teams are going to call him for him because he's going to do such a good job. And then you're like, we talked about him being here maybe for only 2 years or whatever. And so it's just like, again, it's so much unknown. And like, that's where you're just like, I like having answers after the draft, where it's just like, I know what is it like. I know what Bijan's going to be. Like, I knew what Roma Dunze was going to be. I knew what Laiatu Latu and Dallas Turner and pretty much literally anybody else the Falcons could have taken.
Anybody that would have taken, we would have known. Like, yep, we know exactly what to expect.
Right? Like whether it matched with your vibe or whatever, but like you could at least wrap your head around it. It's like this one, it's like, well, okay, like we'll see how it all plays out. But like, man, it just feels I don't know. It's just like I get the vision. Like you want to have your long-term answer at quarterback, but like just so many unknowns that have to get figured out between now and then.
Yeah, and real quick, I do want to kind of touch on what you just said. Like you mentioned, like the rest of the draft, right? Like in the second round, we talking about the 43rd overall pick. Like, where do you go? Like because your top 3 guys are gone, and I even start me being the pessimistic optimist that I am when it comes to the Falcons. I was like, okay, you get Michael Penix Jr. Cool. All these defensive players get pushed down the doggone bottom of the draft. I was like, you know what? I even said to my wife, I looked at her, I said, babe, you know what? I think Terry Fontenot playing a little chess. He about to doggone package the couple of little these couple third round picks that he got. Like, you know what? I want to slide on back into the back end of this first round and see if I can get Jared first. And then next thing you know, and Latu went to the Colts, and Dallas Turner went to the Vikings, and then Jarvis went to the Rams, the team that Raheem Morris came from. That they had just got some nice edge rushers and guys in the mid rounds, and then they went back in the first round to go add to what they were talking about, like what we talked about doubling down on positions and not just depending on one young guy to get it done, but multiple guys to get it done. But they didn't do that, Aaron.
Yeah, Jarvis, I don't know what to tell you. Like, what are they going to do in round 2? Like, well, if they get a pass rusher, I don't know, man. We talked about this all offseason. Like, there were 3 pass rushers in this draft.
Yeah, it's 3. That's it.
4 if you want to throw Byron Murphy, 5 if you want to throw Johnny Newton into the mix. But like, that's it. And it's just like the rest of these guys are just like, all right, good luck with you already got D'Angelo Malone. I don't know if you need another D'Angelo Malone. I need a Byron Young. I need a difference maker. So like, it's just like, all right, like, and then you get the corner. I don't know, man. It's just like, whatever. Okay, it's like, look, I appreciate you having me on this show, Jarvis, because we can laugh and joke about this, because otherwise I'd be sitting in the dark corner. So, like,
look, you'll be sitting in the dark. You'll be sitting in the dark corner, tweeting back and forth with a black dot about Troy Anderson playing edge. I was like, "What are you doing, sir? Why are you talking to him or her, whoever it is?" But yeah. But while my man Aaron is over there trying to figure things out, we're going to check in on Kirk Cousins next. This episode of the Atlanta Football Party is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Yeah, y'all know I got a competitive side. We've been talking about it because my competition in me is dwindled because I'm trying to figure out why in the world did the Falcons draft Michael Penix Jr.? I'm trying to compete, man. They trying to compete this year, or you trying to compete 2 years from now when Kirk Cousins' contract run out? I don't know. But guess what, guys? Monopoly Go is where you need to be. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you money, big money. But the best part is, it's about messing with your friends. You can charge them rent on your iconic properties, just like classic Monopoly. But now I can also take a heist and get all the riches and grab them up for myself, just for me. And leaderboards show me the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitor side that loves it. you can team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge awards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now free and on the App Store, or Google Play. Wrapping things up right here on Atlanta Football Party. We are live right here right after the draft. And with my main man, it's abbreviated version of Atlanta Football Party. Normally we have Tanisha Batiste and Tori McElhaney, but they out there doing big things, doing TV and all that stuff. They just being real rock stars for Locked On and on AtlantaFalcons.com. But we got Aaron and I. So, you better like it. So one thing that, we talked about Michael Penix, the instant reaction, kind of gave a little theory as to, Terry Fontenot might be trying to secure his job for the next 6 or 7 years. But we came to the conclusion that he has to win first. He has to win now in order to do that. But the big part of this conversation, Aaron, is what about Kirk? They running this man out the Atlanta United games and matches and going to the Braves, and he on Sunday Night Baseball. They interviewing him during the innings, and he taking the offensive line out to the Atlanta United games. They ain't never been before, even though they've been in the city for however many years. That's kind of weird. But like this man is like really grasping at this thing. Terry Fontenot talking about how he's nerding out at Raheem Morris's meetings and stuff with his notepad. This man is doing everything the right way. And then next thing you know, they draft this man's replacement in the first round. If you're Kirk Cousins, Aaron, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I would be upset. I would be very upset if I was Kirk Cousins, right?
Right.
Because the whole reason he left Minnesota was because they weren't willing to commit more than 1 year to him. And he came to Atlanta because Atlanta was like, we'll give you 2 years. Mm-hmm. And basically Atlanta saying we're only going to give you 2 years now.
Right.
and
all that guarantee bread, it runs out after 2.
And here's the thing. And again, this is going to be the fascinating thing to watch with Raheem Morris, how he's going to handle this, because, I've interacted with Falcon fans for a quarter century, Jarvis. I'm sure you've done it just as long, if not longer.
Right.
I know how this fan base is gonna treat this situation. That the minute Kirk Cousins makes one bad pass, there is going to be people calling for Michael Penix, and so there's going to be a quarterback controversy. Whether the Falcons sit here and say no, Kirk is our guy, and all this stuff, the media, the fan base, they're going to be like, "What about the other guy? What about the other guy?" And now Kirk has to deal with that. And, we'll see how Kirk handles it. If he's professional about it and he's just like, hey, I understood sort of the assignment, and, maybe I only want to play 2 years and retire in Atlanta and try to win these next 2 years and happily pass the torch to Michael Penix in 2026 or whatever that is. And maybe that's how it works out. But sitting here right now, I would have a hard time believing that Kirk Cousins feels that way. Maybe that's the way he'll feel 6 months from now or a year from now or something like that. But sitting here right now, I'd be like, I'd be pissed. I would be pissed. That's what I would be. But we'll see how Kirk handles it.
All right. So this not might be from Kirk, but this is from Kirk Cousins' agent, Mike McCartney. The guy who announced the signing on via Twitter, right? Quote, "Yes, it was a big surprise. We had no idea this was coming. The truth is, the whole league had no idea this was coming. We got no heads up. Kirk got a call from the Falcons when they were on the clock. That was the first we heard. It never came up in any conversation."
Yeah, I mean,
that don't sound good, man.
Jarvis, you're former defensive lineman. You guys had to eat dirt all the time. You understand the quarterback is on a different level. That dude has a throne in the locker room.
Levels to this thing, man.
They get treated with kid gloves, all that stuff, right?
Yes.
And you can be part of a football team, and sometimes you resent it, but when you're winning, you're like, hey, that's my guy. Put that man on the throne or whatever. Treat that man like he's special because he's taking us to the promised land. He's getting us W's every single. So it's just one of those. And I know there's going to be people being like, oh, well, who cares what Kirk feels and blah blah blah. I was like, well,
no.
if you never get in the locker room, like it does matter what the quarterback feels. It really does matter.
Guaranteed matters.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like maybe Kirk will be cool with this in a couple of months, but like right now, it's like it's a good thing they don't have to play games this weekend, right? It's a good thing they don't have to play a game this weekend because they got a couple of months to figure this out. Because oh boy, yeah.
You know what? To be honest with you, man, to kind of just kind of give it a sliver of kind of hope, right? I feel like if anyone can smooth this over, it will have to be Raheem Morris.
Mm-hmm.
Just from being able to communicate with all levels of guys, right? Like from the guy who's on the practice squad trying to make the team to the $100 million in guaranteed dollar quarterback. Hey man, come on, man. You got to understand the game, man. You're 36 years old, man. You're coming off an Achilles injury, man. Like there's a possibility the other one might pop this year. That's possible. You see what happened to Aaron Rodgers? The doggone season with the poo-poo. 4 plays into the season, and we had no response. We just had to lay down for the rest of the year. So I think that, and they're picking in the top 10. The Falcons don't want to pick in the top 10 no more. So I look at it from that standpoint. Looking at it from that standpoint, I feel like I feel a little bit better. I may just be talking myself into this, but I feel like, Raheem Morris is the guy to try to probably that's going to be able to smooth this bad boy over because he's the guy that knows how to communicate that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I went into this thinking because I didn't think there was any chance because I was just like, why would Raheem invite that on himself? Like, why would you want to do that extra work to have to smooth that over when you can just go get a guy that you can just plug and play, and that guy, you don't have to smooth over. Rome Odunze is scoring 10 touchdowns. You don't have to smooth over Latu getting 10 sacks. Like it's just like just put that guy out there and let him cook, right?
I had my liquor ready, man. I had my liquor ready in my coffee cup. I was gonna hide it. You know what I'm saying? I was gonna drink on camera. Come on, man. I was ready for Latu.
So yeah, you're right. Raheem, if anybody can do it, Raheem could do it, but like, why? Like, why? Why make the job harder? I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, Falcon's been a Falcon, as they say, right?
Yeah, man. That Falcons are going to Falcon, and we thank you guys for coming in and checking us out and making us first listen or watch. Whether you listen to it right after the first round went down, or you listening to it in your car and you're on your way to work and trying to figure this thing out, man. We're here to help you. So, we always remember, though, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast and wherever you download your podcast. Make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. Guess what, y'all? We will be back tomorrow. I don't know if Aaron going to join me. He may or may not. But we right back here, man, after the second and third rounds. It's going down. We're gonna be live, man. So we're going to be here for you, just in case they draft a right guard. So we'll see y'all tomorrow.